Hello DevOps friends, welcome. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Today we're doing some DevOps work, actually some very typical DevOps work, I think, and that's paying off technical debt. In my hosting company's infrastructure as code, we did make quite a few changes to our database setup, and then we realized that we were reluctant to roll out these changes to our database infrastructure, and that caused them to fall back in terms of features and things like that. So we will have to do the work, and that's what I've started doing last week, and I will hopefully continue and finish today or tomorrow. So what we're going to do is check how some Chef cookbook updates can be run. There is a bug that I discovered yesterday that I'm going to fix today, and we'll see how this works out in production actually, and hopefully everything will run fine, but we'll see. So I haven't done a live coding stream in quite a while. And I'm happy to do one today. I was really looking forward to today. Something did change. Lately I haven't had either the energy. I didn't have either the energy or the time or both. And today I seem to have both. I have the time and I have the energy. So I thought I'd share what I'm doing, which is real life work in a small hosting company. And we'll see where it'll get us. If you are new here, welcome to the stream. Don't forget to follow. And yeah, I am Jochen. I run a small web hosting company that's specialized in high performance hosting for Drupal and WordPress. And I'm also the Monospace Mentor on the side, which is my side gig as a DevOps and SRE instructor. If you like to learn more, simply go to monospacementor.com. And yeah, today I'm going to do some DevOps work. My hosting company has been around for 15 years now, and we pretty much started using infrastructure as code from the start. I chose Chef as my IAC tool, and Chef has been serving us well ever since, and we are still actively maintaining our infrastructure code in Chef. It also got me into Ruby, for which I'm really, really grateful. It was just by coincidence because Chef or Sync, how its open source fork is named, is written in Ruby, and yeah, I do like Ruby. It's become my favorite programming language. I really like its style, the thinking behind it. I like the community, and that's why I'm using it in many places. Our customer UI, for example, is also built on Ruby with Ruby on Rails. And so, yeah, Ruby is basically something that I'm more or less touching on a daily or at least on a weekly basis, depending on how my schedule looks like. And so, yeah, I think we'll simply go and jump right into the code, and I'll see what I can make of it. And I'll explain to you on the way what I'm doing, but let's not make this a monologue. I can talk for hours on end, but I'd rather have this a two-way street, an interactive show, so don't hold back. If you have any questions, say hello in chat. If you'd like to share something, feel free to do so, especially if it's some new open source tool or project that you are excited about. I'm always curious what people come up with and what I can play with myself. Balthazar says to the Code Mobile, let's go. Yep, hello Balthazar, good morning. Happy to have you here. Balthazar is one of our regulars, one of the members of the server room, which is my community of DevOps practitioners. And if you'd like to join us, you can go to theserverroom.sh and take a look what a membership in the server room can give you. First of all, I think I need to do a few housekeeping things here on my coding environment, because the screensaver kicks in far too early. Let's actually turn off screen blanking here. That should do it. Otherwise, I'll simply install caffeine and that's it. So, that's that. And now, let's see. All right, I just switched to my Chef Cookbooks repository and realized there are a few things lying around. This gemfile.lock might have to be committed, I guess. What exactly did change in there? Kubernetes Ruby, not even sure why that's in there, but I don't mind it either. Resource spike. Ah, that's the resources thingy. Okay, let's commit this. There is no identity here. That's really strange. Okay. Let's do a git pull. Should have done that earlier. Oh, you might be right, Balthazar. Maybe it's related to Podman. However, I don't think I have any gems related to that in there. I mean, we could take a look. Actually, it's always a good idea to not leave these questions hanging. What did happen here? Didn't we even push this? I guess we'll configure the branch. Apparently there isn't even a branch resource spike up there yet. I did not push my changes after work. How sloppy. Alright, so I guess we're going to not master as a directory, but master as a branch. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. I'm rusty. And a little bit confused. Maybe I need more coffee. Git checkout master. Okay, let's pull the latest changes. Alright. And we are already in a tmux session here. And I'm using sesh as my tmux session helper. And speaking of sessions, I'm also using the mini session plugin for NeoVim, which is pretty cool because if I create a session with the mk session command, and next time I start NeoVim, I can simply choose this session and it'll get me exactly back to where I ended up before. Bethesda said, regarding RDP, I was frustrated I couldn't access it unless I had already logged into myself. Yeah, it's user-based, not system-based. Which, knowing how Linux desktop environments work makes sense, but I wanted to make my machine available on first boot remotely. That is actually possible if you use the linger feature that allows user-based services to linger around even if the user isn't logged in anymore. I think that's something that you should check out. Yeah, because auto login is definitely a solution, but it's not really. Nice. Does it work from a cold boot scenario? I'm actually not sure. I haven't used it myself yet, I think. I only read about it. So that's why I recommended checking it out, because then you'll learn more than I'm able to tell you at this point. Okay, so let's see. So one of the reasons why we got ourselves stuck is because our infrastructure code for databases is a little bit complex. And that's intentional. I wanted to have different layers of abstraction here. That's why there is one chef cookbook called MySQLX. It's basically a fork of one of the original MySQL cookbooks that were available from the chef community, and I think it didn't get maintained anymore, and so I forked it for ourselves and simply added an X because I'm creative like that. And then there is the MySQL Freestyle cookbook, which has MySQL code or infrastructure code that is specific to our company, which is called Freestyle IT. That's why you can see this --Freestyle or _Freestyle behind many of these cookbook names. And then there is another layer of abstraction, and that's FreestyleBox _MySQL. FreestyleBox is our managed hosting platform, and the infrastructure code in this cookbook is specific to our hosting platform. So it's even more specific than our generic database servers or database clusters that get set up by the MySQL Freestyle cookbook. These layers of abstraction actually cause a little bit of complexity that's hard to handle if it's not done cleanly, and I'll be the first one to admit that we did not always do things cleanly, and so that's what ended up causing us to say, yeah, let's hold back on upgrading our existing database clusters to these new cookbook versions, because the changes in there seem to be a little bit hard to predict in their effects, and yeah, that's got us stuck here for a few months. And when I ran into an issue that our monitoring didn't pick up last week, because the relevant monitoring change is only available in one of the newer cookbook versions, I realized, yeah, we need to do something about this. This is technical debt that we actually incurred, a little bit like credit card debt, where you are supposed to pay it back quite quickly, but you can end up holding that for a long time, which is never a good idea, never really healthy financially. And in this case, it's not healthy technically to hold on to these older versions and not update, because then we are missing out on features that we actually built ourselves. And so today is payback time, and I'll try and get us to our current version set up. And one of the issues that I discovered is MySQLX being the foundational cookbook. We are making a few changes in our MySQL Freestyle cookbook, which is layered on top, that are causing issues. And the thing that I'd like to tackle first is this attributes file. aptly named MySQLX because it changes node attributes. You could call them configuration settings.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Naindev, welcome to the stream. Thank you for following. This cookbook overrides configuration settings of the underlying MySQLX cookbook. Because these are settings that we want to have in our databases. The MySQLX cookbook is supposed to be a cookbook that we can even publish as open source. We haven't done so yet, but I still intend to do so eventually. And the settings in this cookbook might make sense for a generic MySQL server, but our servers usually will have to have other settings, starting, for example, from the bind address. We need to have our database servers available, reachable from the outside, and so we change the bind address from localhost to the catch-all address and other MySQL specific settings down here. However, the issue that I've run into is that these settings are set as override attributes and not as default attributes, and that is actually causing issues because if you set attributes with override, well, they are actually quite hard to then again override if a specific database cluster needs different settings. And I discovered this in the wild in terms of the InnoDB log file size. On the database cluster that I tried the upgrade on the standby database actually, we have a setting that sets the InnoDB log file size to 10 gigabytes. And when I rolled out the latest cookbooks, everything did work out quite nicely, almost everything, but one of the things that I discovered was in the updated MySQL configuration, it switched back from 10 gigabytes to 128 megabytes. And that's because this attribute gets set as an override now, and the places where I set them as default, or where we set them as default, they get, well, overridden. And I could now use override myself to override the override, but that gets ugly and quite unpredictable quite quickly. And that's why I'd rather have these settings be defaults. And that's what I'm going to try, actually. The thing I'd like to do is, well, first of all, let's do this test driven, and let's set up a test that tries to modify these settings, and we'll see if that actually works. That's something that I'd like to try. If that doesn't quite work out, or doesn't help me in determining if we can use a default, then I will actually create a patch level version, a new patch level release of this cookbook, and release that in our test environment, where we have a database cluster running, serving our own websites, and then we'll see if the MySQL configuration will change or not. Don't worry of me releasing this in sort of production environments, because this cookbook will, or our cookbooks will only change the MySQL configuration file without actually enabling these changes. It doesn't reload MySQL because, for obvious reasons, because reloading stuff that is not correct might actually cause huge issues for our customers and in consequence for us. And that's why we take a different approach, which is also a tip that I can give you in terms of operations practice. What we do is we write the new MySQL configuration file. We don't enable it. Instead, we create a you could call it a message file that says MySQL restart required, and that gets picked up by our monitoring and causes a low-level alert that there are databases that need a restart to actually enable the changed configuration. And so we can restart them in a controlled manner at a specific time, maybe during a maintenance window, something like that. But other than that, only an accidental reboot would then enable these configuration changes. Now, I need a branch in which I can make my tests, and for that I will use the branch that Linear gives me here. I already created an issue about these override attributes, and Linear gives me a related branch name, so all I have to do is actually open a new shell here and do a git new branch, which is basically just a git checkout -b, and use this pretty long but, well, okay-ish branch name. And now I can start making changes. The first thing that I probably should do is let's create a new window, especially for this cookbook, where I can actually change into MySQL dash FrySteel. And let's run the test suite. Is it rake test? Is it rake test suite? I think it's rake test. No, it's not. Rake test. Oh, it's, well, we need bundle exec, rake test. Doesn't work either. Why is that? Maybe I need to. Ooh, that'll. I think we are missing something fundamental yet. Oh, look at that. Okay. We probably should also use a newer Ruby version here. Git notes. Interesting. Git trailers. Never heard of that. Thanks for the tips. I mean, I don't mind. It simply derives the branch name from the issue name. Maybe I should have used a shorter issue title here. Git trailers and Git notes. Let's take a look while Ruby installs. My machine is at a pretty concerning temperature. I've noticed that lately, that CPU temperature goes to the limit if I stress it hard enough. And live streaming while installing Ruby seems to be one of these things. And that's why I got myself a new CPU cooler, actually. It arrived yesterday, and I might actually end this stream a little bit earlier than usual, and yeah, disconnect my machine and install the new heatsink, because that doesn't seem sustainable. Running it at 90 degrees all the time during a stream doesn't seem healthy to me. Bigger Farm, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you are not wrong with the thermal paste, but I only installed the current heatsink a year and a half ago, and thermal paste shouldn't go bad in that time. But yeah, I didn't have these issues before, so maybe it did get bad, or maybe the heatsink shifted by a few microns or something like that and doesn't cool the die properly anymore. Something like that. I got my theories, but yeah. On the other hand, I'm running a Ryzen 9, and the general advice for running these CPUs is have a beefy cooler, because they can get pretty hot. And so That's why I got myself a Noctua NHD15. If that doesn't do it, then I don't know what. Not going to do water cooling. You're right, Bethatar. Maybe it wasn't put on correctly 100%. It was the first time that I actually installed a heatsink myself, and I was pretty happy that the machine still worked afterwards. So I might have made a mistake, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was a little bit too cautious with tightening the screws, and now it just shifted by a few microns, and yeah, a few microns in that case might actually make a difference. Okay, at the moment we're down to 80 degrees, which might mean that the Ruby installation has finished, or it has failed, which is also not good. It's past its end of life and is now unsupported. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a reason to switch away from it, but it did fail, and I wonder why that is. It did download it. Build log temp Ruby build. So let's take a look. Temp Ruby build. Where did it break? Here. JIS conflicting types. Well, it does cool down if I don't give it any work. But still, I think the temperature, the baseline temperature could be a little bit lower, but usually it's okay. Yeah, it shouldn't. There's also another issue that points to some kind of cooling issue, and that is if I use BTOP, which displays each core's temperatures, I can see that half of the cores run 10 degrees higher than the other half. And so if there are two dies, one of them seems to get cooled a little bit less effectively. And that also points to a cooling issue, I think, or a defect actually, but let's hope for the former. Haven't seen this error yet, I think, but it might be simply because the version is so old. I hate when this happens. I'm about to do some practical work and then the dev environment breaks in some way. I'm also surprised that the required Ruby version isn't installed. Haven't I done any chef work on this stream VM yet? That's really strange. Yeah, being able to run it basically at mobile power levels if you don't need the performance is really good. That's a good feature. Now, what do I do now? Maybe it makes sense to simply try and research that. Maybe I learned something that I can use in the future. Ruby installation. That's with 313. In my case, it's 315, but looks like basically the same error, and it is actually Fedora 42 that I'm running here. So, as a temporary successfully compiled older Ruby versions, GCC version used in Fedora 42. Interesting. They've made a change affecting the line where changes only from Ruby 3.2 onward. Yeah, I think it makes sense to switch to Ruby 3.2 at least. As I've successfully compiled older Ruby versions on a Fedora 41 virtual machine. Yeah, I don't want to compile Ruby on a different machine and then port that over or something. That is a little bit tedious. So it's GCC 15 that seems to have issues with Ruby older than 3.2. Well, I think there's only one way around that, or through that, and that is using a newer Ruby version. And that, I don't expect this to cause any issues. Famous last words, I know. So let's go here and try this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to our Ruby version. Where is it? It's here. Ruby version. I think we're going to have to see which version of 3.2 does make the most sense. Let's take it one minor version at a time. I can type quickly on a split keyboard again, and that's because I actually got rid of Colmac. I switched back to QWERTY because, yeah, I think the main benefit of having a split keyboard is having a split keyboard and not necessarily also having a different layout. And since I've been fighting decades of muscle memory for months now, and succeeding only partly, I decided, okay, let's ditch Colmac and stick with QWERTY. And yeah, that has been taking me a little bit of effort reprogramming my muscle memory, because I had already pretty much ingrained Colmac into my muscle memory, but coding and stuff was still harder, and especially, of course, the displaced Ruby navigation keys, Vim navigation keys were an issue, and but it's coming back pretty quickly. So Ruby releases, we are at 3.2.8, and that's from March, so let's go there. We'll have to do 3.2.8. And so let's install Ruby 3.2.8 and three 3.2.8. Beth, I enjoy your meeting. And I'm not being sarcastic. I hope it's a good meeting. And again, 87 degrees CPU temperature. That's really not good. I hate having to take apart my setup here, because there's a huge rat's nest of cables going into this machine. And having to pull them out and plug them in at the right place again is going to be tedious, but there's no way around that. I don't have the space here on my desk to get to the insides of my PC, especially the CPU, without disconnecting everything. And I guess that's another thing that I can't keep postponing. While we're waiting for the compile to finish successfully, hopefully, let me remind you that there are channel rewards that you can redeem if you've been a viewer for a while. And anticipating that someone might actually redeem Hydrate, I probably should get myself a pint of water. Because it's also pretty warm in here. The 90-degree CPU definitely contributes to the temperature in here being 28.7 degrees. And that's with the fan running, so yeah. Okay, this time it worked, and let's hope all gems get actually installed as well. Interesting, it should have installed my default set of gems after successfully installing the Ruby version, but yeah, doesn't look like it did. What's the matter? And why is it trying to load a gem from version 3.4? That's completely wrong. Okay, maybe today's not the day to do this. This is starting to annoy me. Bakerfarm says, never go into a meeting without a fresh batch of cat pictures. Yeah, let's derail that meeting completely. This is so annoying. Rikabek, welcome to this channel. Don't forget to follow. Yeah, I'm planning to do some work on our database infrastructure as code, but looks like on my stream development VM I can't get even past the initial hurdle of getting the right development environment set up. I'm actually surprised that it isn't yet set up, and now there's some strange thing because we are using Ruby 3.2 and it still tries to load gems from 3.4. Maybe if I close these shells and open them new. Okay. That actually did the trick. Interesting. There was an error installing the locked bundler version. Could not load OpenSSL. Okay, that's a common issue, especially with Bluefin, the distribution that I'm using. Rekabik asks what I'm using. It's Sync, the open source fork of Chef. So just as a background, I run a small web hosting company that's specialized on Drupal and WordPress. And when I started the company in 2010, I decided to use the pretty young Chef back then. And yeah, we've been using Chef ever since, and it's been doing great work. I'm still very happy with it. We are in parallel working on switching to a more cloud-native environment, but so far Chef is at the heart of our infrastructure, and that is not going to change anytime soon. So that's why we are still maintaining a lot of Chef cookbooks that control our infrastructure. And yeah, and that gets us to what I was going to do today, which is fixing a few issues that we have with our database setup. And yeah, I must recompile Ruby with OpenSSL support. So give me just a second while I try and find my notes. Actually, I can access those notes from here, since I just have to go to my own wiki, monospacementor.com/wiki. Let's check out Ruby. RBNF. Issues with Homebrew. We need basically this command here. Even though this is about zlib, I think it's going to be the same with OpenSSL though too. So we'll have to install 3.2.8 again and use these configuration options, I think. Yes, please. Yeah, Republic says, so organized with your own wiki. Yeah, I'm mostly keeping this wiki for myself. It's basically my tech notes that I maintain using Obsidian. However, of course, as you can see, I'm pretty much sharing all my work with the public. I'm pretty much a fan of the work in public philosophy, and also, of course, I always try to contribute to the open source community, both with my live streams and with my wiki and my website, and so it made sense to integrate the Obsidian Publish website with my own website. Yes, I'm using Obsidian Publish because it makes things so much easier. It's basically my own website proxying the Obsidian Publish website. So it's shown under the /wiki path. I know that there are ways to integrate or try and integrate it with a static site generator or something like that, but ain't no one's got time for that. Yeah, I'm also an DevOps and SRE instructor. That's what I do as Monospace Mentor. And so, yeah, I'm trying to model good practices, including documentation. And so that's why I'm able to actually retrieve the knowledge how to get Ruby installed with a homebrew-based development environment. I'm running Bluefin as my Linux distribution here, which is a great spin-off of Fedora Silverblue. And Bluefin allows you to use Homebrew, which works well most of the time if you have workarounds like this one that deals with library ambiguities and other dependencies. Yeah, I've been in the DevOps space forever. I worked back in my corporate past. I worked as an IT manager, basically running a department of several core IT teams, and tried to apply the DevOps philosophy there, because back then in the early 2000s we really had problems with the wall of confusion between developers and operations people, leading to suffering on all sides, I think. And that's what's got me into DevOps. And when I started my own company in 2010, yeah, I mean, DevOps was definitely at the heart of everything. And now I'm simply sharing the joy. Okay, so we have a newly installed Ruby version. I think I should be able to run bundle install now, right? Ooh, it works, it works. That is awesome. Let's hope everything works. Sometimes the gems that need native compilation still break. But that's a lot of green I'm seeing there, and that's not just because I love retro design. As you can see from my stream design, I'm pretty much a fan of green screens, but yeah. Now, still an issue with Solargraph, huh? Which I don't even use as a language server at the moment, but I'm surprised to see so many issues. It did try to install... what? An error occurred. Let's take a look up here. No such file or directory. G++. Huh? What? Yeah, that's definitely going to break things if there isn't any G++ installed. How is there no G++ installed though? I think that... was that what caused the issue? Or is that just... yeah, it says error 127 after that. What's all these issues here? Are these all warnings? Note? No, these are errors. Unknown type name bool. Wait, what? Oh, that's all so weird. How is bool not a known type? Rekabik, you're also in the DevOps space. Feel free to share a little bit of what you're doing. Kitchen inspec was resolved, which depends on inspec. Bson. I tried to install Bson, and that didn't seem to work. There's an issue with ED25519. I faintly remember running into issues with that in the past. Not sure if I did write that down, though. It's all very strange. We are definitely using 328. There is no G++. I'm not sure if I want to install that via Homebrew. GCC is definitely part of the system. Just for funsies, I'll try and search that. Doesn't even have its own package. It's probably part of GCC, isn't it? Rekabik says, senior DevOps engineer for a fairly large food delivery company, a small but mighty team doing all kinds of cloud native fun. Small but mighty teams are awesome. That's definitely a label that I would give our team as well. Okay, so first of all, I'm getting annoyed with all these issues, and I think I am going to resolve those off stream. The main reason that I want to end this stream earlier, however, is that my CPU is really running at an disturbingly high temperature. I'm not sure if btop in this VM will show that. No, it doesn't. It's not the real CPU. But yeah, I can show you. Let's open a new terminal here. And yeah, I'm not happy about always running at these high temperatures. I mean, it's a 5950, so those are known to run at high temperatures, but still. I have this a new Noctua heatsink lying here, just waiting to be installed, and I think I'll be less tense once that's the case. Right, I can quit this normally. So, yeah, and I also find it quite tedious to fix these development environment things on stream, because that's not what was advertised. So, actually, I'll cut things off at this point. I'll grab my workstation and install a new heatsink, and that will hopefully fix things for good. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure that I'll be back on Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Irish time, around that, and we'll probably continue. I might do some of this work then in the background, but first of all, I'm going to fix my development environment here so that we can actually do some serious work. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit bummed out myself by it, but hey, these things happen, and thankfully they are fixable. So I hope to be back soon, probably on Thursday, and don't forget to follow the stream so you get a notification, and we will pick up from where I'm leaving off now. Thanks for stopping by. It's been fun, and I'll see you soon. Until then, take care.